What UConn will have to do as they descend on Tampa. Yes, it's a women's Final Four preview. Welcome and thank you for making the Hoopscat Pod part of your daily routine. Your home for UConn men's and women's basketball. We're available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Big East Energy Network. Remember, if you haven't already done so, like and subscribe to the show. Follow it on Spotify, Apple, wherever you can. If you go to the Big East Energy Network channel on Apple or Spotify, by downloading those, you'll get all the shows that come onto that network, and then you can just pick and choose where you want to go. Well, welcome to this special edition of Women's Basketball Final Four preview on the Hoopscat Pod. I'm your host, Mark Zanetto, breaking down the matchups as we head into the electrifying weekend in Tampa Bay. I unfortunately am not going to be there, but I have a few folks that will be in Bella Tamano, and also with I think Colleen's going as essentially a fan, which is awesome. I love that, and it's a good thing. I'm happy for them, and I'll be watching from home and doing some content. UConn versus UCLA, Texas versus South Carolina. Today's episode will dive into two segments, essentially, one for each game, analyzing the key factors, standout performances, and what each team needs to do to punch their ticket to the national title game. Let's get started. UConn versus UCLA, a clash of titans, one with a storied history, the other just kind of fresh off of resurgence in the UCLA team. UConn is facing UCLA in what promises to be a thrilling semifinal. UConn enters as the leader of the pack, even as a 2-seed, riding a wave of dominance into their 24th Final Four. The driving force behind this run, obviously, is superstar guard Paige Bueckers. She's racked up 3 straight games of 25-plus points in March Madness, tying her for the second most such games in NCAA tournament history over the past 25 years. Her scoring outburst, 31 points in the Elite Eight, along with 6 assists in a highlight reel block, has cemented her as the nation's best player. And I think there is some argument around whether Juju Watkins was this year. I did hear a few people talk about, a lot of times she was stat padding and doing her thing. I don't care. Juju is a great player. I think without her in the tournament this year, Paige is easily the most dynamic and best player out there. And that was 31 points, is coming off of a 40-point game from the Sweet 16. The Huskies boast unmatched perimeter firepower between Paige, AZ, Ashlyn, Sarah. Who else can shoot? I mean, Carolyn Ducharme can shoot, but she doesn't play that much. Look, this team has what it takes, and the key is going to be how they handle the paint. UConn starts 2 freshmen in the post, one a highly touted newcomer, and the other finally healthy after years on the roster with Janelle Alfie. They held their own against USC, and will UCLA's physicality be what essentially takes them to a championship game? The 6'7" tower known as Lauren Betts, who's a game changer for the Bruins. If UConn can break even in the interior, their outside game should carry them to the Final Four in their first title since 2016. On the other side, UCLA is making their first Final Four appearance since the NCAA era began. A monumental breakthrough for a program that's been knocking on the door for years. Their key, 6'7", Lauren Betts, who's been an unstoppable presence. She posted 17 points and 7 rebounds and 6 blocks in the Elite Eight, numbers that somehow qualify as an off night after back-to-back 30-point, 10-rebound games earlier in the tournament. Her rebounding efficiency is really where it's at, 10 rebounds around that. She's gotten more games, obviously, where she's had more of that. They finally got pushed a little bit past the Sweet 16, and now they're kind of hit their ceiling. And will they kind of be a team that is just happy to be there, or will they take this? They got extra rest. They've been a number 1 seed. They were number 1 they surprised South Carolina to take the number 1 spot earlier this year. I think their strategy will be simple. Stay present. Try to treat this like it's any game. Try not to yawn. Sorry. Try to treat this like it's any game. And just their coach's mantra, just go 1-0. Have to keep them grounded despite their lack of Final Four experience compared to UConn's pedigree with Gino and everybody that's been to multiple Final Fours that's on this team. The Bruins will lean on their star center to try to exploit UConn's young front court, but also to try to gain an advantage that a lot of people feel like they have in this game. I've seen a few predictions that has UConn winning, but they're a lot closer than what Vegas has it at. I think it's an 8.5-point spread, 9.5. We have 82-78 or 72-70. I even saw one reporter that had it at, I think it was 85-83. An upset that, if that happens, I would consider that monumental. If you're a 9.5-point favorite in the national semifinal and you lose by 2, that's a huge upset. I don't give a shit about a 1 seed versus 2 seed. It would be an incredible feat for UCLA to knock off UCLA, or UCLA to knock off UConn. Pardon me. I don't know if it's going to go down to the wire. I have a premonition, like most good teams, I think they'll take a little bit of time to get going, kind of understand UCLA's game plan. But once you start getting Paige, and how are they going to, whoever's Lauren Betts is guarding, are they going to essentially put them in drop coverage, and is Paige just going to take over? Or are we going to have a situation where they're going to hedge on that, and then there's just a situation there. I think that's what you have to kind of lay your money on if you're Gina. Just continue to run the offense. I said it a long time ago. Paige and Sarah should be the focal point of this offense, and the offense should run through them, and it should flow from there. And then if you add AZ into the mix, that's why UCLA, in my opinion, is in trouble. All right, when we return, we're going to talk about Texas versus South Carolina. And the fact that it's 3-1s and that lowly 2 UConn just cracks me up every time. We're going to talk about that after the break. All right, we're back on the Hoopscat Pod here, powered by the Big East Energy Network, soon to be sponsored by a few different people. We will reveal that likely next week. All right, so let's see what this game is going to look like. Texas taking on South Carolina, a 1 versus a 1 in a battle of SEC heavyweights. This is their 4th meeting this year, and it's fitting that the conference is represented in the title game. And it comes down to these two defensive juggernauts. Texas punched their ticket to Tampa, their first Final Four since 2003. I was 22 years old. Oof. With a gritty Elite 8 win, the Longhorns showed their composure as a top seed, shrugging off pressure and momentum to get it done. The sophomore forward, sorry, I had a little glitch there. Texas's sophomore forward and Madison Booker, their team's leading scorer, will be pivotal, especially after a quiet 10-point outing in their last loss to South Carolina. Texas averages just 53.7 points across their 3 prior meetings with the Gamecocks, breaking 60 only once in their lone win. Scoring enough to keep pace will be the key. South Carolina, meanwhile, is back in the Final Four, chasing a 4th national title under legendary coach Dawn Staley. Their success stems from a program built on defense and resilience, playing to the final buzzer, minimizing mistakes, and when it matters most, hitting clutch shots. This season, they've gutted out tight wins in the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. They're not playing to their full capabilities. Even when this offense has sputtered, their coach's adaptability has been able to shine through. I think Dawn is a fantastic coach. She's dialed back the fire that fueled past teams to suit this group's mentality, maintaining those high standards with a little bit of a softer touch. But there's a catch. Their young stars struggle in the Elite 8, combined just for 9 points on poor shooting and 7 turnovers. And we're talking about freshmen's Joyce Edwards and a little bit of Malaysia Fulwiley. The team is not Maddie McDaniel. They have Tessa Johnson. I would consider like Raven Johnson their leader, because she's a junior and she's won national titles. Malaysia Fulwiley is a wild card for me. She's a senior. So I think we're going to see a difference from those folks. So look, the veteran starters like Raven Johnson, and then Joyce Edwards is going to have to play up to her capabilities. This matchup is going to be all about defense, rebounding. Both teams rank among the nation's best with only a tournament opponent each topping 60 points. The previous clashes this season were low-scoring affairs. 64-45 rout in the SEC title game for South Carolina was their last meeting. The Longhorns will need their offense to click. Only scoring 45 points is not going to get it done. The Longhorns will need their offense to be much better. South Carolina must coax bigger contributions from their young bench. Joyce Edwards and Maddie McDonald, include Joyce Starks, sorry. Predictions lean towards the Gamecocks, thanks to their edge and experience and defensive tenacity. Texas could flip the script if they find their scoring rhythm. If Madison Booker goes off, it could be a whole other ballgame. The X factor here for Texas is breaking out of their offensive funk. South Carolina's suffocating D for the Gamecocks. It's whether their youngsters step up in the biggest moments. I think it's going to be a classic. I think it's going to be a very tight game. But I could see both of these games with UConn and South Carolina about to face each other in the finals. That's my prediction. Way to go out on a limb. But I think it's close, and then they pull away. I think both of these teams win by double digits. So late game, like they did to USC. That's our breakdown of the women's Final Four semifinals. UConn and UCLA bring star power in contrasting styles, while Texas and South Carolina is a knockdown, drag-out defensive slugfest. Who's cutting down the nets? We'll find out soon enough. Stay tuned because we're going to probably go to Bella Tamano over the weekend, maybe before the game tomorrow, to get a pregame show with her on location. We'll catch you after the games for full recaps. We will 1,000% do live reaction shows in the Final Four. All right. This is another little mini episode of the Hoops Cap. Don't go anywhere.